Everybody, welcome to Matt Men, your source for all things professional wrestling. I'm AJ Zarian. I'm joined by the multi-hit wonder, Rich Stambolian.
The multi-hit wonder. I've had a lot of good guys. I don't know if you know that. I'm the Chris Christopherson of wrestling podcasters.
Of wrestling podcasts, you have many hits.
Just many hits. Some uncredited, some you do a little research and you're like, oh, Rich wrote that one.
Guys, so we're doing a show on a Monday today. I don't think we've ever done it on a Monday, but I thought, considering last week, the schedule got really wacky for us. And we just couldn't figure out the day. We were going to do a show on Friday. Couldn't do Friday. We were going to do Thursday, obviously. We couldn't do Thursday. We couldn't do Friday. Saturday came. Couldn't do Saturday. Sunday, we were going to do a preview show for Backlash. But by the time it takes us to edit the show and post the show, it's old news. So we decided that what we're going to do a very news-heavy show today, recapping everything that happened in WWE, obviously, last week. A lot of the news that's coming out, the Paul Heyman news, the AJ Styles news, Edge's injury from last night, which should have never happened. It actually drives me nuts that this injury happened. It was totally avoidable. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot of other stuff, obviously. It seems like more and more people are working now, especially on the WWE side. So a lot of the news is starting to trickle out again. I had a very long conversation with someone that I generally respect tremendously in the way that they cover professional wrestling. I went over all this stuff that we were supposed to talk about. So Rich, where? Oh my God.
They break you?
That you broke me, man. Rich just texted me while I'm going on this, and he just broke me big time. This is why I love the man.
It's not real. It's not real.
I know. It's fine. I'm not going to show it, but it's hysterical. So we're going to go through this, but let's go through Backlash first to just go through this, because there's a lot of news coming out of Backlash, and I want to touch on this, and then we'll go backtrack into the Paul Heyman stuff. Which some of you guys are going to be blown away by some of this news that we're going to talk about today. So, Rich, you are the king of recaps. You do a way better job at going through the card. So why don't you take control of this, take this ship, steer it into the moon, and go through the card?
That's only because you want to still giggle at the thing I sent you.
I do. I just want to look at it.
This is a very short pay-per-view, number one. So,
loved it,
which I'm really happy about. In Your House from last week was fantastic. It was over at like 9:30. This was over at like 10ish, right? And looking at the match times, it's like, wow, holy crap! This went by quick. So you had your pre-show. Apollo Crews beat Andrade in a singles match for the U.S. Championship. I'm glad they didn't flip-flop the title this week.
Yeah, I actually thought they would.
Keeping it on Apollo. Then you had Bayley and Sasha beating Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross and the Iconics for a triple threat, which was a 9-minute match, very quick.
Nothing match. I didn't care for it.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I do like Bayley 2 belts though.
I do like that. I you know what? I got to tell you, Sasha and her doing a great job. Very good job.
I think with the outcomes of this pay-per-view, I think they're trying to put a little more prestige on the belts again. So, keep that belt on Apollo for a while. Keep those belts on Bayley and Sasha for a while. Sheamus beat Jeff Hardy in a 16-minute match. This went a while. Not a bad match. Very, very, very oddball storyline going into it, though.
Yeah. So, on SmackDown, he threw urine at him. And they literally word for word did the Shawn Michaels, Vince McMahon segment when they made Shawn do a piss test. You remember that from like the mid 2000s? And he takes it and he goes, the old saying, it's better to get pissed off than pissed on. And he threw the pretend urine on Vince. They did the same with Sheamus. This is Bruce Pritchard 101, You're going to see a lot of this stuff. A lot of the celebrations, a lot of these backstage moments. I don't know, man. I sometimes, depending on how it's done, it's a little hokey. Obviously, with no crowd reaction to do something like that, it kind of falls flat. But it almost looked like it was a send-off for Jeff Hardy, the way this match went.
I feel like every time Jeff Hardy comes out, it's like a send off for Jeff Hardy.
16 minutes, 16:50. Sheamus wins, like you said.
Not a bad match. Do you think this is the rest of Jeff Hardy's WWE career is going to be stuff like this, where he kind of phones it in until he can go hang out with his brother?
I don't know, man. I don't know if he wants to go there. I have not heard a lot, but they are very understanding of Jeff's issues from what I've been told. So they are looking after him, which I don't know if he'll get if he'll be more independent. I don't know. I think this may be better for him to stay with the company.
That's good. Jeff Hardy was always one of those guys to me where it was like he was almost like the prodigal son to Vince McMahon. Like he's gotten so many chances and the company loves him. I think more so than Matt.
Yeah, definitely more so than Matt. Definitely.
All right. Next match was Asuka versus Nia Jax, which ended in a double count out, another 8-minuter for the Raw Women's Championship.
Not a good match.
What'd you think?
I thought this match would be better. I was not a fan of it. I think there were a lot of, for the fact that this was pre-recorded, they could have done a lot more.
Right.
This was not the set finish from what I was told. So it was changed to protect Nia. At the end, they did not want her to lose. So obviously this is going to continue now because it ended in a double count out. But obviously Asuka retains. But this was to protect Nia more than anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Then you had Braun Strowman beating The Miz and Morrison.
I hated everything about
this. Which I feel was a very 2009 match.
God, I cannot stand handicap matches, especially for world titles. I really can't stand it. This was a 7.5 minute terrible match. We'll talk about Braun Strowman, but this guy's stock has fallen unbelievably from 2 years ago, 18 months even.
Yeah,
less than
100%.
2 years. This guy was being groomed to be a top guy, and for whatever reason, people got it in their minds that he doesn't work as hard as he should, and he's not as upset about situations. So I don't know why. I don't know why they feel that way, but that's how they feel about him right now. And then obviously he's a placeholder for Roman until Roman gets back.
Exactly. I mean, like you have the belt and everything, and that's cool, and they're gonna keep it on him for at least like a little bit. So when Roman comes back, do you think that's gonna be like the big match, like the big SummerSlam match, and he just times and takes the belt back?
Yeah, I think that's honestly what's gonna happen. He's gonna come back and he's gonna get that title because this is supposed to be a big run for him.
Right.
Okay. Top babyface.
Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Singles match for the WWE Championship, 13 minutes. I like seeing big dudes go at it, and this was like a good big guy match. But the only thing I could concentrate on during this match was how this guy has been kind of gypped because of the whole coronavirus situation.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously it sucks, and you have to be understanding about it. But in terms of his career, I feel like they really need to have him have the belt way beyond when they can have live shows with people, just so they can, the crowd can go crazy for him,
Listen, they have to get through this, right? They can't pull the title off of him now. It's not fair to him, and it's not fair to the fans, because this guy in January from that this is one of those weird situations where you can't blame WWE for the issue. You really can't. This guy was, I mean, dude, we spoke about this. What a great opportunity. He was the one that dethroned Brock Lesnar. We've been talking about this for years. You've said it and I've said it. If there's one guy that dethrones him, it has to be a big guy that takes that place. And Drew was that guy, and they did it perfectly. Unfortunately, current world events got in the way of this guy's run. What did you think of the match? Because I have to tell you, I really liked this match. These guys did a great job with the match. The ending was a little didn't really care for the ending, but overall, Lashley looked great.
He did. I think Lashley's an interesting guy in that, like, he's very sound and very solid, but when he's in there with somebody that has good chemistry with him, like he'll do very, very, very well. I think this was one of those instances, and also going back to the no crowd thing with Drew McIntyre, I feel like, and take a minute and listen to this. I feel like the more him personally, the more Drew McIntyre is away from a live crowd, the more of a draw he's kind of becoming. Because don't you just want to see this guy live when you have a chance?
I do want to see him live. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I do want to see him live. Something that's missing from my list here is the Viking Raiders and Street Profits. That was bonkers. Dude, you know what? People hated it. I did not dislike it as much as other people did.
Yeah.
This is that new era where they're trying new stuff with the cinematic stuff, the cinematic shots. They didn't. There has been a major decline as far as quality goes. I'm not talking about the actual things that are happening, but like cuts and editing wise. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that they don't have enough time to edit the way that they want to edit, but it's been a little wonky, and we'll talk about the next match as well because that was pre-recorded. The cinematic shots. I thought it was done decent. I enjoyed it better than most. I don't know. People hated it. I was okay with it. It was, why I was okay with it? Because the show was short. I wasn't affected by fatigue watching this. So now we're on to the main event. Randy Orton and Edge in the greatest wrestling match of all time. Rich, was this the greatest, in your opinion, the greatest WWE wrestling match of all time?
I'm gonna say no, but it was a great match, and
great match.
You nailed it yesterday when you said on Twitter, imagine if this was in front of a crowd, like a real arena crowd. I think you would have definitely been like, you know what, this has a chance. It's like 90% there, right? Them piping in the crowd noise was so distracting for me.
Okay, so by the way, Edge lost to Randy Orton. Randy Orton defeated him with a punt kick, which we haven't seen in many, many years.
A lot of finishers. They did a rock bottom. They did a pedigree. They did a crossface. Edge brought out all of his old moves. Right. The Edge-O-Matic and all these other. I mean, they took out every possible, a sharpshooter. They brought out every move. Thousands of finishes. They did a great job with this match. Now, let's talk about what happened. Obviously, this was 44 minutes, this match. They did most of it in one take. There wasn't a lot of stop and go from what I was told, right? So yesterday, before the show, Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful Online, reported, and we reported afterwards, that Edge was injured in this match. Dave Meltzer reported that it was a tricep tear. Not good, and not an easy thing to tear, by the way. A lot of people don't know that the tricep is not a common injury in sports, in professional wrestling. Generally, it has to do with the way that you're working out. If you're overworking out, that tends to happen. People that are on steroids, that tends to happen as well. I'm not saying the Edges, obviously, but I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he's not. It doesn't matter. But he tore his tricep in the match. This was a totally avoidable injury because it didn't happen in the match. And the whole match, I'm looking for this tricep tear. And I'm trying to figure out when it could have possibly happened. And there was no instance when we were watching that you saw this injury happen. What happened was, after they were done during the match, they went back and they were told to go back out there and record a couple spots again. And it happened on the re-recording of the spots. And you got to also remember, Edge has not wrestled in 9 years, 8 years, right? 9 years, yeah.
This is probably the first match he's had. First match. Real match. If we're thinking about it.
Besides training,
you're right. The other one was it was a pre-recorded match in a different environment with a lot of takes. That brawl that they did at WrestleMania, that was you really couldn't. There was no need to go 130% in that match, right? There was no pressure because everything was going to be shot. You could do the spot, stop, do the spot, stop. This was a one-take match. And as far as the match goes, if this was in front of a live crowd, this was probably going to be their WrestleMania match.
Oh, 100%.
If this was a WrestleMania match, do you want this would have stolen the show? Any other building, this would have stolen the show. So they filmed the match. Obviously Edge is not worked every day. He's working out, he's training, but it's very different than being out there and working, doing matches, 50, 60, 70 matches a year. I believe Edge's agreement is 5 matches a year. I don't think he'll do that this year. What is it? 5 matches for the next 3 years he has in place. So 15 matches. Maybe he'll do 20. He gets cold in the back because he's done with the match. They have him go out there and repeat spots over and over again. One was the RKO from the top rope. I don't remember exactly which point he got injured. I don't know if it was the RKO off the top, but there was one of the spots they went and filmed. He tore his tricep, and now he's gone 6 to 8 months. So you just lost Edge.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, he's going to be nearly a 48-year-old man. And you're going to say, well, sorry, go ahead, Rich.
He may not even come back. He may just be like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done again.
I'm done. He's 46, 47 now. He's in the best shape of his life, technically, as far as fitness goes, working out. This guy got over this terrible injury that was career-ending. He's now back through training and everything else. All this alternative therapy he's been doing. And now you've lost him for 6 to 8 months. You're going to say, well, a lot of people go away for 6 months. You know what? It's very difficult to come. 6 to 8 months when you're in your 30s and even in your early 40s and when you're working every single day is a quicker recovery than a 47-year-old guy that, he's trying to come back for one last run.
Right.
This is not great and totally unnecessary. It actually made me really angry. I'm all for the cinematic production, but these guys had a great match. You didn't need to go and make it perfect like that. You didn't need to. You could have hidden these spots with the cameras.
Yeah.
Because you have about 2 weeks to film it, a week to film it. So I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think it was, it actually, I really get angry at this stuff. It pissed me off that I'm like, so unnecessary. The dude went out there. You know the risk, right? Every moment he's in that ring, it's a risk. Why have him go out there again?
It's one of those things where I agree with you. It pissed me off too as a fan because I'm like, yo, man, this guy just came back. Like, why couldn't you do a better job of editing it instead of doing X, Y, and Z? And also, I think they made a mistake. Again, this is my own personal thing. I think they made a mistake originally saying, hey, this is going to be the greatest wrestling match of all time. Can you imagine the pressure? Like, regardless of the showbiz aspect of it,
the psychological
pressure of that. The psychological pressure of it. Of course, these guys want to do well. They're going to put their bodies on the line even more. And unfortunately, this is what happened. This poor guy got hurt. And I agree with you. I got very pissed off too, especially like now where you kind of, I feel like the consensus is seeing WWE as almost like an evil empire, right? And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. So I don't know, man. It really bothered me. I hope he comes back quicker than 6 to 8 months. Here. I hope it's not a severe tear. But in all seriousness, though, this was one of the best Randy Orton's looked in years.
100%.
Obviously, Edge looked remarkable, right? And there is a very good argument to be had that it is very possible that if done right, this run for Edge could be equivalent to Shawn Michaels' second run. As far as, I'm not talking about day-to-day. I'm saying like big match level. This guy, he did, it just says like sheer natural talent, right? There's something to be said about that. About how some people have it and some people don't. This is a guy that has not wrestled in years, and he looked unbelievable. I mean, he was quick. I think Orton being so methodical in the ring, and it was just it was laid out so well. And I gotta applaud these guys, because if you looked at it, like, there was a point, Rich, when it was like super explosive, right? Like, they started off slow. They did a lot of like wrestling spots, like the shoulder tackle, the leapfrog, headlock on the ground, sit there and put the pressure on it. They went to the outside a little bit.
Yeah.
They did that spot, and then they went back in the ring, and then they were just exploding. Finish. 1-2 kick out, 1-2 kick out. And you're saying, like, holy moly, it's at the end of the match. And then they started all over again. Slowed it down.
Yeah, exactly.
And took it right back up. It was, I'm not going to say it was like a New Japan match, but there were a lot of elements that were put in this that you would see in a big time New Japan style match.
Absolutely. A lot of false finishes.
A lot of false finishes and peaks and valleys. 44-minute match. Give these guys tremendous credit. Randy Orton, one of the greatest of all time. I know people,
absolutely,
they find him boring, but you got to look at this guy. And everybody that I talk to that's in the business recognizes that this guy is one of the all-time greatest workers.
Absolutely.
So fluid. I got to give them, I loved the match. I really did. I don't know. I would not say it's the greatest wrestling match of all time. I honestly think that, to me, if I'm going to say in this modern era, because it's hard to kind of do it's hard to bring in, like, saying Flair Steamboat or Flair a Steamboat Macho, because it's a different era, right? Like, you can't look back at the 80s and 70s and even the 90s and compare it to today. If we're going modern era, it's a unbelievable match, but I'm still going with Omega Okada, you know,
the one where Kenny finally won.
The one that I actually think the second one was better, to be honest. The draw to me is the best. Listen, all perspective, right? Like, you would say the last one, you would say the one Kenny won. I would say the draw. It's whatever got you in that moment.
Yeah.
You know, some people don't like it. It's fine, whatever. But as far as a WWE match, I don't know. As far as a pure match goes, what would you rank the greatest WWE match of all time?
I'm gonna go Shawn Taker, WrestleMania 25.
But take the story element
because of it. That's tough because you had a crowd, and also A, it's Shawn Michaels, and B, it's The Undertaker.
I would say that is the greatest. That match is the most put together match WWE's ever done.
Like
total package,
like well put together. Like total package. 100%.
Perfect in the ring. It was perfect with the build. It was perfect with the players. I don't think they'll ever come close to that. But as far as the greatest match, I don't know. There's a plethora in NXT to compare, to say.
Right, 100%. And also, they should have just called it, we're going to have a great wrestling match. You're going to see a great wrestling match. Listen, not the greatest.
Can you imagine? By the way, the Howard Finkel's introduction was great. In the beginning with the MSG logo that came down. They made it feel like it was an old school match. Little Nate in his old school WWF and WWF wrestling referee outfit. Very well done. I'm glad that those were the only gimmicks in this match. Orton grabbing Edge and saying, "I'm gonna effing kill you, you mother effer." So good. Him bleeding from the forehead. So good from the headbutt. It was just, dude, loved it. I loved it. Now, is it a 5-star match? I don't know. I don't know. Whatever you think. I would say
4 3/4. I
would say it's a 4.5, 4.75 star. It could be a 5-star match. I don't know. I gotta rewatch it. I drank a lot yesterday.
Did you really?
Drunk. I wasn't drunk, but you know what? I was in a great mood all day. So when I went to watch this, I was in a really positive mood. So to me, I loved everything about it. I got to rewatch it in a normal environment, But great job by them. Pay-per-view ended at 10 o'clock, like Rich mentioned. I really like this. There's a couple notes here. You want me to go down this? So I had so much news come in the last couple days. I actually made a document for Rich and I to look through. Generally, we just shoot the show with what's on our mind, and MGG kind of fills in the blanks, a little behind-the-scenes stuff here. But I have a ton of news here, and I want to get Rich's opinion on this. So obviously, we spoke about the Edge injury, torn bicep. Generally, it takes 8 months to recover. Maybe he'll be quicker. I don't know. We'll find out more information in the coming days, right? So the crowd noise was something that bothered a lot of people. Rich, I know it was distracting to you.
It was very off-putting and distracting, and I know they made an announcement about it, but I think when you're hearing crowd noise that's non-existent while the camera is on a crowd not vocalizing, it's very off-putting, and it kind of took me out of the match, like, for those few seconds, right?
So what was the announcement? So I missed that part. I stepped out of the room, but everybody said that they announced something. What did they say about it?
They announced, I missed it too, but they announced something like we have extra crowd noise. I think Todd Phillips said it. We have extra crowd noise for you guys to feel more at home or some nonsense like that.
Okay, got it. So
I don't know the verbiage.
Here's the reason for this. So I asked immediately when they were doing the piping of the crowd noise to somebody in production. He was not there at the time that they filmed this. It was not somebody on site. So I reached out and I said, well, how did they do the crowd noise? He didn't go into detail about how they did it, which was I think he probably misunderstood my question as from how to why. I was more curious if they actually, it was recorded with the people in the building, like outside, they just had them do their cheers for spots, like after pre-recorded and watching it. Or did they pipe in random crowd noise from old events? He didn't answer me on that. I'm still curious about that. But what he said, and I'm going to read this because it's in my notes. WWE intends on pushing their historical recalls. Okay? This match as a historical recall. That was the exact word that he used. And it's going to be strange 10 years from now when people really don't have the memory of knowing when this match took place. So it normalized it for the audience in the future.
For the future.
I mean, obviously now people are going to know that it was piped in, right? And people are going to say like, oh, it was piped in. But it was more for 5 to 10 years from now on those compilations, those WWE Network moments, the history of the greatest match or the top greatest matches. It's going to be bad for them when 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, you're watching all these great matches in WWE history, and then there's this one, and you're watching, you're like, there's nobody reacting. What happened? There's no noise. Because you could kind of mask the fact that there's no crowd. And they're doing a great job at that. But the sound, they really can't. So that was the reason that was that was sent. That was told to me. I don't know. What do you think? Do you agree with that?
I think it's stupid. I think it's bonkers, and I think that's I think it's an insult to your diehard wrestling fan base. Because guess what? Everybody who's watching us right now, including you and I, are going to remember this 10 years from now. I think people will remember the exact moment where they're like, oh yeah, wasn't that during the quote unquote greatest wrestling match of all time? And oh yeah, didn't they pipe in crowd noise for that? I think, wrestling fans aren't dumb. And also, what was the term that they used?
For what?
For it?
Hold on. Historical recalls.
Right. So basically, instead of saying like 20 years ago, you'd say like, oh, this is for the DVD. Now it's for historical recalls that are going to take place on the network like 10 years from now.
Yeah.
It's weird. It was just weird.
Or 3 years. He mentioned 10 years, but obviously this is not going to be something that we forget in the coming, a year from now, 2 years from now. The impact of this global pandemic is going to extend further, obviously. It's not going to be like, well, we're going to forget about this like it never happened. But 5 to 10 years from now, this is going to be, I understand totally as a production goes, why they did what they did. I can't blame them for that. So that was
I agree with that,
reason.
But it's still stupid.
Let's talk about Paul Heyman. This is actually tremendous news. There's a lot more behind this. So Paul Heyman is out as head of creative. He's no longer in a management position whatsoever. He's strictly a on-air talent. I'm trying to confirm if he's still a consultant. I believe he is, from what is told to me, on certain stuff that's already laid out. He will be consulting on those things, but as far as creative goes, he's out of it. They've consolidated the SmackDown and writing team, so obviously there's going to be some firings happening. And Bruce is now in charge of both products. Listen, great for Bruce. I know that it was amicable. Paul did not. It wasn't. There was not a fight. There was not an argument that was the catalyst for this. But let's go down the reason why this is happening.
Okay.
So Paul's big push from day one was that he wanted to have Raw build new talent. That was a point of Raw right now. SmackDown was going to be heavy with the current main star talent because they're on a network, obviously, and they wanted Fox to have a little bit of leverage going into this. Paul was going to rebuild Raw with all new talent, and you could see the guys that he's picked, right? Humberto, Andrade, who else is there?
Angel Garza.
Angel Garza. Apollo Crews, Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black. All those guys, right? I think their name was Team Catering, something like that. That was what they would refer to them because they had nothing for them on SmackDown. They would just sit in catering. There was nothing for him. So you could obviously see the rebuilding process here. USA was on board with this tremendously. I spoke to someone at USA, and they said, no, this was the plan. They were going to rebuild, and they were just happy that they got all this live content come from WWE every week. Something happened over the last couple of weeks. Vince was not happy with the long-term building. He needed more impact on the product. He wanted to see more. If you see WWE, their trajectory, ratings drop. They and then they bring Vince McMahon back on TV, or they bring Austin on TV, or Hunter's on TV.
Right.
That's always how they do that to sustain that casual viewer. You have not really seen that on that side, and that's all Paul Heyman. He really doesn't want to go back to that well, and he wants to build new talent. They genuinely believe that they need and this is their words. They need a new Hispanic top star, which I agree with them on. They do, 100%. Yes. I think Andrade could be that guy. I think they have a plethora of great talent right now that could fill into that role. I've enjoyed the build, but if you're a casual viewer, and I'm asking you this, right? I'm asking everybody. I'm asking Rich. I'm asking chat room. If you're a casual viewer, you turn on Raw, you're gonna be like, who are these guys?
Right. I think that's been the landscape of wrestling for the last 10 years. Right? Because
very much
there's no real quote unquote legends left, unlike you say where Austin comes back or Triple H comes back, or maybe the Undertaker that once a year. But now it's listen, we have to build this brand with newer guys.
Yeah.
Going along with having kind of built it with guys like Roman and Seth and Bray Wyatt. They're in an interesting spot too, especially now with the pandemic.
Yeah.
And all the creative issues where I can see people turning on wrestling and being like, oh, whatever. Right? It's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's a tremendously weird thing. So I don't know. So I lost my notes again. Jesus, this sucks. It keeps locking up. Where was I? Here we go. Okay, so they've been rebuilding these guys. They've been creating these new talents. I think Paul's done a good job, but this is the typical Paul Heyman thing. There's an interview he did with Ariel Helwani about before Lesnar came back, 2011, I want to say 2012. Okay. And Helwani asked him about different promotions, different ideas. It's actually a great interview. It's one of the first Paul Heyman long form interviews that you could ever find. If you find this interview, I highly recommend you listen to it. A lot of it is about MMA, how he was interested in going to Strikeforce. He was going to buy Strikeforce. Shane wanted to buy Strike. There's a lot of stories here with that. But in one point, they spoke about how Impact had offered him to come in. And he actually he said, I'll only go in if I gain control of the company. And his plan was he would chop everybody's head over the age of 40, and he would just concentrate on brand new stars. He would have one guy at a time, like Sting or Flair, but none of them all together, and he would build a product. This is Paul Heyman booking 101, right? Get rid of the old, start new, and mold them, because the new guys you can mold into what you want them to be, and you create the cult of Heyman, and the old guys are not going to go with your plan. Great example of this is AJ Styles. A few weeks ago, I want to say 3 weeks ago, Rich, right? pre-Heyman
Yeah,
on the
something
verge of
around
leaving.
there.
I got word through a friend of mine that is in the company, that's very engraved in the company. He said, hey, I don't know if you heard about this, but there's a lot of issues between Paul Heyman and AJ Styles. I said, what's going on? He goes, Styles is moving to SmackDown because he cannot get along with Heyman. They do not get along. This has been going on for a while. A lot of this has to do with the mishandling of Gallows and Anderson, and even Styles on on the Raw side. They really didn't have much for them. I don't, and I'm gonna kind of put words in his mouth with the storytelling. I don't think they saw great value in Gallows and Anderson, and Styles was really annoyed at that. That really pissed him off.
Right.
Meltzer's reporting the same thing, which kind of confirms it, because considering we have very different sources. Styles really faulted Heyman on Gallows and Anderson leaving because he didn't back them. And Styles, and this kind of blew up the whole scenario, and it started the whole, well, why did we lose these guys? Obviously, Gallows and Anderson, big tag team name. They're going to go somewhere, and they're going to be very successful when they go.
Right.
Regardless if it's New Japan or AEW or Impact, they're gonna be very successful at this. So Styles just says, no, I don't want to work with him. And I think that got the ball rolling for Vince, saying, you know what, we need a change. Is Bruce Pritchard the change that we need? Listen, you're going to see a lot more backstage moments like this. You're going to see a lot of, vomit and pee getting thrown. And, we know how he books. I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I just don't know what the answer is here.
No, I agree with you. But according to everybody, including the sources that you got, it's Bruce knows how to talk to Vince, and it seems like he's the only one who's been able to for the last 30 years. He's the guy who gets it and who understands how to pitch ideas and what Vince likes and how to squeeze in the extra stuff. I think that's great. I think that's fine and good. That dude is a staple of wrestling. I think the Paul Heyman thing is a little weird, especially with the AJ Styles thing. And I do think this is going back to what I said at the beginning of the show. Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles had a bang up match on SmackDown last week, right?
So good, right? So good.
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 commercial breaks. It was a 5-segment match, right?
Yeah.
Him winning that title, I think is bringing prestige to it, and I do think AJ may have a little bit of stroke at this point, to say hey, listen, I've delivered on every level since I've been here.
Hey man,
and
hey man,
hey man, get rid of hey man. So I think that has something to do with it, and it's an interesting situation, especially because you don't really know what was on backstage. You can only infer what happens backstage. Do you think them cutting Paul Heyman loose as part of creative is a bad idea or a good idea?
This is where it's going to sound controversial, but it's not, right? You don't need a 50-something-year-old guy, no matter how connected to pop culture Paul Heyman is. I don't think your lead creative guy should be a guy in his mid to late 50s. I think Bruce is in his 60s now. Bruce is 60 years old at this point?
He's 42.
Listen, I'm 36. Bruce Pritchard is 42. he looks great. I'm 36 years old. I think at this point in my... He's 57? Okay, so almost 60. Well, how old is Paul? Paul's in his 50s as well.
I think I was shocked when I found out how old he was.
Paul's 40?
He is 29. 54.
Okay, so you have two 50-year-old men that had a great mind in the business 20 years ago. I'm going to tell you from personal experience, right? My thought process is very different today than it was when I first started doing this podcast. Both of us. We've changed as people. The way that our minds work changes. I would like to say at 36 years old, I got my finger on the pulse. I know what's in. I know what's not. I know what's trending. I'm old enough to have maturity where I know what'll work and what doesn't. You're kind of more reserved with your thought process, but you know how to present even controversial things compared to a 20-year-old, which is fine. That's how it works. But at 36, I have way more of a finger on the pulse than a 60-year-old man. That's just how it is. I'm not picking out Bruce. I'm not saying Bruce doesn't, and I'm not saying Paul doesn't, but the reality is I know what's hip. I know what the kids like. Okay?
Oh boy.
They love
right
Mountain Dew. They love skateboards. They love malls.
They like malt beverages.
Malt beverage. But you know what I mean? You need a younger guy in that position, in that key position. Your demo is fading away. You're 18 to 20. You're 18 to 34. It's eroding.
So you're saying they need like a Tony Khan, basically?
Not. I don't listen. I don't know. I actually don't know much about how much of a finger on the pulse Tony Khan has. I don't know much. There's not. I don't have a lot of context back there that kind of feed me this stuff. But I could tell you that. It doesn't hurt WWE to experiment maybe a little bit. Have somebody who's a great mind in that company in their 40s even. You don't have to be in your 30s. In your 40s that kind of understands what's in and what's not. That could book television to present it to a younger. I guess so. I guess you have the producer, but who are the producers? Jeff Jarrett? They really don't have that guy. Russo, for all the stuff, and we'll talk about Vince Russo, for all the stuff that Vince Russo gets, all the crap that he gets, and all the the negativity, this guy for a moment in time knew what people wanted to watch. Now, whether or not Vince was filtering that or not doesn't matter. You need that filter, but he knew he had ideas that worked, that caught eyeballs. Now, I'm not saying that he would work, obviously, right? I'm not presenting it in that way, but I am saying that you need someone that understands what the culture of media is right now. And I'm just saying, I don't know if Bruce Pritchard's the guy. I don't know if Paul Heyman was the guy. It's definitely not Vince at this point. I don't know if it's Hunter. You need a whole new outlook on the television layout. AEW's doing a great job right now, but they have their issues too. Nobody's perfect. You're not going to write perfect TV, but what do you think? I want to get your opinion. Do you listen? You're a very creative guy, right? You're into comic book culture. You're into writing. You understand how this works. What's your opinion of this? Do you think they need a younger guy or a younger woman? It doesn't matter, guy, girl. Somebody that is 10 years younger, 20 years younger, to be able to say, okay, guys, listen, this is what's in right now. This is the direction I'm seeing everybody else go. Let's go down this road.
I think it's not an age factor. I think age is relative when it comes to this stuff. But I do think, I know WWE has like a weird policy of like, when they hire people for certain positions, they hire people who aren't really fans. And they hire people who are more businessmen and businesswomen, right? I think if you find that combination of somebody who has a good track record of, let's say, pitching TV, getting TV shows sold, getting TV shows developed, or getting movies or whatever developed, and then coming into the company and saying, hey, look, I'm a fan also. Let's try it this way. Let's see if this works. Let's do a tie-in with this. Let's do a tie-in with that. Let's really get eyes on the product this way. Right now, they're doing a very like PG fad approach to their marketing and their television, right? Like the matches you see on TV aren't technically really wrestling matches, right? They're WWE entertainment. It's entertainment matches, right?
Yeah.
It's not like it was in the early 2000s where you had everybody seemed like they had some kind of aggressive edge whenever they were on TV, as opposed to now where everybody seems like they're cut from the same cloth and doing the same moves. And just, it's like a constant repetition every week, like it's very status quo. I think somebody needs to come in who is listened to, that has carte blanche with like a lot of this stuff. But I don't think an age thing really matters. I'd love a guy like Scott Hall, who has a crazy mind for the business, to be in charge of at least some aspects of production, right? I mean, like something like that, like just a fresh perspective would work 100% for the company.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think something needs to change on that end. Let's see what else we got here. That's Paul Heyman out of creative. Obviously, we're going to revisit this in the coming weeks and get more information over it. Here's a bit of information that I have not seen anybody else report. I spoke to a friend of ours, Rich. I think people could piece this together, trying to confirm it. He's going to also confirm it. I was told last week, sometime early last week, that WWE is returning to a live audience in July. July 23rd and 27th is what I was told. The location will most likely be outdoors. Again, I'm reporting this without saying I've confirmed with multitude of people. I know that I was able to confirm that they are looking at the end of July, but it's getting a little funny here, right? So here's where this kind of lays out. They're looking for an outdoor venue to take place either in Texas or Florida. This could change now, considering those two states have had an outbreak of the second wave of COVID, but they're looking at doing July 23rd and 27th. So Friday night SmackDown, Monday night Raw. We know that in August we have SummerSlam on the 23rd. So I'm also being told that there has been a chatter amongst people within the marketing department to start getting ready to market a international show on August 30th, which is a Sunday. It's the following Sunday after SummerSlam. I don't know if this is a internal screw up as far as a memo goes. Instead of saying the 23rd, they wrote the 30th. But the 30th is a Sunday, and if I'm going to bet on an international show, they're not going to Saudi Arabia. I'll tell you that, especially on a Sunday to do a show. It may look like Australia, because Australia is opening live events because they've had no cases. So it's very possible that we do see a live wrestling show take place in I'm saying Australia. I have no verification, but if we are going international, I would say Australia would be the better pick. Definitely not going to be London. It's definitely not going to be Europe. So you could kind of piece it together that maybe they'll go back to Australia to run a big show there on August 30th.
Okay.
So whatever that weekend is. So that's a big piece of news.
Maybe New Zealand?
Maybe. Listen, Australia has less cases than New Zealand. I went down this rabbit hole of looking at it. And if you see, so in the Observer last week, that came out last week, Dave did mention that Australia's opening up events, but didn't mention anything about WWE. So I don't know if he's sitting on it or this story is, slowly going to phase out. But if I've been told that, they're looking at doing a live show on August 30th. So a month and a half from now.
This whole thing throw like an oddball monkey wrench into their whole Saudi plan.
So do you want to go into that big Saudi class action lawsuit with the investors?
Absolutely. That thing's crazy.
So this is actually nuts. This came out yesterday. So it's multiple people suing right now. They're suing WWE for misrepresenting the nature of the Saudi contract and the situation. This happens all the time with companies. So this is nothing out of the ordinary, where certain investors get together and they either, I don't know if it's in the process of becoming class action or it's a multitude of people suing. Most likely it'll turn into a class action lawsuit. So here's the thing. There's two confidential witnesses for this suit. One is somebody that works at NBC, which is the big station over there. M with an M, not an N. So AMBC, WAMBC. Confidential witness one is someone from NBC that WWE is working out their Middle East deal, the TV deal. WWE could not agree on the basic assumptions of the new deal. The work, let me see. Work to come close as an estimate of how much the deal would be. WWE wanted something obscene. It was like $80 million or $100 million, something. I don't have the exact number, but NBC thought $6.5 million with the analytics that they had was more of a realistic number, and they settled on $15 million just to make WWE happy. The deal fell apart. So WWE had claimed that they were on the verge of the deal happening any day. They were nowhere near the deal happening, so they misrepresented the situation to the investors. During this process, another confidential witness has come forward. This was WWE talent, worked in the company from 2012 to 2020, so you could kind of guess who the guy is. If you look at, It could be Rusev. It could also
Mm,
be it could also be one of the I had it actually. I think it could be one of the Revival.
it's Miroslav.
One of the
Oh
one of the
wow,
Revival. Yeah. So there was a list of people that worked from 2020 to 2019 to 2020. I don't know if
Brody
they
Lee.
I don't know. 2012 to 2020. I don't think it was Brody Lee. He wasn't there at that point. So
Mm,
this is what he's saying. So the confidential witness is a former talent, and he confirmed that the talent was technically held hostage for hours as it was being reported. By the way, WWE denied all of this. I don't know if you remember.
yeah, absolutely. They said it was a mechanical issue, right?
They said it was mechanical, and that weekend I was getting messages from a lot of people telling me what the story is, and it's exactly what everybody reported. They were held hostage technically because there was a dispute between Vince and the Saudis, Mohammed bin Salim, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, over the fact that Vince did not get paid for these shows, and he cut the feed. 30 minutes of the beginning of the show was not aired until he got his money. So Mark Carano, head of talent, told this person, the confidential witness, that Vince and Mohammed bin Salim had gotten into an argument and a dispute, and that's why they were being held there as a punishment to the talent. Obviously,
Crazy.
Saudi Arabia does not want this to be the case because they are changing the way that their economy works and the way that they're presented. They don't want to be portrayed as just for oil, where their wealth comes. They want to diversify. They want to be an entertainment hub in the Middle East. It's been a very accelerated westernization of content in that country. They don't want that to affect this story to affect how future deals happen. So they denied it, obviously. And Vince denied it because he wants the money from them. It's a lot of money.
Right, absolutely.
So this is a fascinating thing. More information obviously is going to come out if this continues. But I just thought it was interesting that we got confirmation, and there's a confidential witness in this from a former WWE employee.
Pretty
Former
crazy,
talent.
man. This whole story is weird. It also, like, this combined with the ratings plummet and the COVID stuff and the no live shows and the XFL plummeting. Do you think Vince is, like, at this point just losing his shit?
It can't be easy. 70 something, 74, 75 years old to deal, with everything happening. It can't be easy. So that was that story. Let's see what else we had here. Anything you want to pick from here?
Well, I think it's pretty cool that we got the first New Japan show in months today.
Yeah, where is it? Is it on New Japan World?
Yeah, I think so. I think it happened already, right? It was the I keep wanting to say it was the Friendship Cup.
Together Project.
But it's not.
Together
Yeah,
Project.
it's the Together Project. So that's cool.
Log in. Their website is so wacky. Membership registration. Yeah. That's what it says. Let me log in here and see if I can find it. Yeah, so they ran a show.
Pretty cool. I'm very happy about that. It's nice to see, New Japan kind of up and running. We'll see what happens. It's still a very touch and go situation with everything that's going on in the world. But it's nice to see like another option come back because, like you have AEW. AEW was live for the last couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, AEW. They've been great. I'm trying to find I can't find the show, so I don't know if it's on New Japan World yet. But it was filmed already. They filmed it, so it should be up there soon. Very excited for that. I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
We mentioned Vince Russo before. This week also there was a lot of news coming, rumblings coming that he's working for Impact again. I could tell you that the story's been denied to me by multiple people. I even asked somebody that works with Vince. And they said no, he's not going there. He was going to be at that TNA reunion show in March, and they were talking to him in January about doing that, and obviously that didn't happen. I expect him to be back anyway. Him and Dixie were going to be there for Major Heat. So there's not much behind that. Sami Zayn, another story about what a pain in the ass he is. That was rumbling this week. I don't know if that was another bizarre story about how unhappy he is and how unhappy people are with him. But he's
Just
always
because
been a
he's
pain in
staying
the
home.
butt.
And
He's always been that
that's
guy,
according,
though.
right? That he's like the George Costanza of like wrestling, right?
Yes. Yes, he is.
But that we never met the guy, but that's what you
Yeah.
hear people say that all the time. That like he means well, and he's not a bad guy. He's just very irritating, apparently.
Yeah. That's CM Punk has a great story about him being annoying, which is great. Q&A segment starting soon, guys. So get your questions ready for Rich and I. Q&A segment. We're going to be answering some of your questions. A lot going on, obviously, in wrestling. I wanted to make this very news heavy because I feel like we didn't have an opportunity to talk about this stuff, and it's fresh on my mind, and I'm not forgetting. I have terrible short-term memory, but I could tell you, you know, what happened in the 1996 Royal Rumble. You know, my mind is blown out like that.
You got to stop opening the door with your forehead.
I think that's the problem. I just Bill Goldberg all the doors.
Oh.
What did you think of AEW this week?
I liked it. It was a solid show. I think I really enjoy that Cody's defending that TV title every week. The pull apart, the brawl this week was fun too, and I think it served to like mix stuff up. You know, like they're doing a good job of keeping, elevating new guys and also keeping feuds entertaining. You know, like I know at some point we're gonna get Jericho versus Orange Cassidy, which I think is cool. Like the Orange Cassidy beatdown was hysterical. We were gonna get the Jack Hager Cody fight, which I think is gonna be great. And then like all the tag team stuff. Like I'm super excited about all the FTR stuff and the feuds, and then like, you know, when are they gonna pull the trigger on that Young Buck match? The Brian Cage Moxley stuff I'm really into. So it was a good, solid episode, and it has been for the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's been great. The ratings were terrible though. The ratings for both NXT and AEW were bad. Obviously, listen, it's all about the news cycle. Also, having NASCAR on at the same time does not help. And Total Bellas actually did a crazy rating for Nikki Bella's gender reveal for her baby. So there was a lot of different variables. It's John Cena. John Cena's the baby.
It's a John Cena. Imagine that? He's got like an Ouroboros thing happening where he's his own father, and we're gonna see this happen right now.
I really hope that's happening.
We got questions.
Okay. Let's do it.
Do you have White Claw induced dementia?
I do. It's happened. It's finally happened. I've consumed all the White Claws. By the way,
I don't understand how you can drink those things.
Dude, it's great. It's 90 calories. It's 100 calories.
I had one yesterday, and I was like, what am I doing with myself? I had the same reaction of like going down like a porn rabbit hole where you're like, what am I doing right now? White Claws are gross, man. I love you, but White Claws are gross.
No, I love them. I really do. I love them. I don't feel guilty about drinking them. Because listen, I love IPAs. I love beer. I love beer. Yeah. And the problem is a lot of these like IPAs or these specialty beers, they're like 350 freaking calories a piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not the easiest thing to drink, especially in the summer. But a White Claw, I could pound down a whole pack. It's only 1,200 calories. Who cares?
Yeah. And you don't even really get drunk.
You know what? It's 5% alcohol, so sometimes you do. But you could pound them down, you know?
Have you gotten blasted on White Claws?
Oh, yeah. I think one day, Jess and I just were like, we're going to be total degenerates. Just pound these things down. I had like 11 of them throughout like a couple hour thing, you know? And I feel like
that's too many.
It's too many?
I feel like that's like one of those Linzess commercials where like the side effects may include like gambling addiction. You know, like if you drink like 11 White Claws, you may get like diarrhea, gambling addiction, a rapid heartbeat, you know?
Yeah.
How about Trulies? You getting bombed on Trulies?
I like Trulies also. I like the Bon Ives. Those are good also. I like Bon Ives, but those are 4.5% alcohol. I like those. I like all of them, honestly. I really enjoy them.
We got another question. Yeah. Do you guys know when Ricochet's contract expires? If so, where do you see him going? AEW or NJPW? I think Ricochet's going to stay in WWE for a couple of years, at least.
I was told that he has a while on his contract. Same thing. A lot of people were questioning Adam Cole, like, oh, his contract's ending. I always thought he had like another year and a half at least. I think you and I did this. We went down the list of when everybody's contract is ending a while ago, like a year ago, and I know that he had a very long-term contract. Same thing with Aleister Black, and same thing with Ricochet. These guys are there for a while. They're not, but Ricochet's been very vocal online the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
Talking about vocal online, I just got this sent to me. The Forgotten Sons are being taken off TV.
Well, I mean,
they've been gone.
I saw that one coming.
Yeah, so this is according to Fightful Select. The Forgotten Sons have been removed from TV for the last 2 weeks. As on Monday morning, they're expected to be off for the next 2 tapings also. A lot of it has to do with the pro-Trump tweet that it came off at a is very insensitive in the locker room. That I believe who put it out? Who was it?
It was Gunner.
Which one? Was it Gunner? Okay, Gunner put out. And right now they've pulled away from them, so the heat's kind of off. Whatever. Listen, if they were an important team right now for them, they would not have pulled them. I think they were just looking for a reason that it's not working. And I think this is the time to take them off and kind of rebrand that. So that just came down. Let's see. What else do we have?
We got the let's see. I know we had a question. Do you think that do you think that a motorcycle ninja is going to be Akira Tozawa's new gimmick, or was it a one-off? I honestly really enjoyed that reveal.
I did too. People hated it. They like, oh, the ninja thing threw me off. I enjoyed the ninja thing.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
That was a fun match, man. That was a fun, dopey wrestling match. I really enjoyed it. It was I feel like that was a throwback to like your 80s, early 90s vignettes.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. Done well.
Did you hear about the heat on Lacey Evans? I did not.
I have not heard that at all. Everybody has heat always. Like that happens constantly. There's not a moment that there is no heat on you. Like, I don't think there's a wrestler in that company that hasn't had heat on him. I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything about Lacey Evans right now. Nothing about Lacey Evans.
Isn't that a weird thing? How like everybody at some point has like quote unquote heat.
They're very sensitive. It's a very sensitive tiptoey culture in that company.
I think
tiptoey.
Performance. When you're a performer, I think your level of sensitivity is very, very high.
Oh, yeah. Everything upsets these guys. And listen, you're gunning for your job. It's very competitive. I don't think there's no other culture, right, where everybody's gunning for your same position.
That is, well, I mean, pro sports,
but I mean, your own teammates, I'm talking about. You know what I mean? With politicking, I mean, generally, pro sports are based on your sheer talent. If you're great, you're going to do great. But there's so much manipulation, politics that goes into this. It's interesting. There's I'm trying to find. I had another question here. Where is it?
Where are you going to go to lunch with Bob?
I don't know. I can't leave the house right now because my wife's working and the kids are home today. The kids are not in school today.
Okay. Actually, this is a question from Bob. If WWE needs new management, let's say age appropriate as opposed to 50 to 70 years old, what's the average WWE subscriber's age?
So that's very difficult to track. They've been trying to figure that number out, but considering the fact that the only way to really track that is by the people purchasing the service, and generally you need a credit card to purchase it. It's a falsehood as far as who's watching it and who's not watching it. It is older. Generally, the thing that's watched other than pay-per-views is just archived footage. People watch random old stuff constantly. I believe it's older. From the last time I asked about this, it's an older number, the people that are subscribers. And again, you got 1 million people subscribed, 1.5 million people subscribed. You're gonna have the if you're purchasing this product, most likely you're invested in the product, and the people that are invested right now are older, unfortunately for them.
Okay,
it's a lot of plus 50s. We're aging out. It's the same people. That the 18-year-old is now a 36-year-old. The 20-year-old is now in their
Right.
40s. So everybody's just getting older. That number, they're not creating young, new fans. They are, but they're not sticking with the product. They're around for a couple of years and then they just drop it. We don't know with that next group. It's interesting. John Cena's a great example of that. John Cena attracted a lot of younger viewers. Where are 100%. They now? Are they still here or did they leave?
I think they probably found AEW, right? Or
maybe they found AEW.
Are not interested, because I remember like there was like I feel like everybody loved wrestling when they were kids and loved Hogan and Macho Man and all that stuff, but then grew out of the Hogan thing and just left forever, right?
That's quite possible.
And came back for Austin. For Austin, right? So that's like a multi-tiered question where it's like, are we gonna see a John Cena who was a Hogan type again? Like, who's gonna be that guy that shows up, works his ass off, and kids effing love like that much? Because kids love John Cena.
Kids love him. Who's that guy now? Who's the one that kids love now?
I don't know. Aleister Black.
Aleister Black. I don't know. That's a great question.
Tommaso Ciampa.
No, definitely not him.
I don't know. Like, they need that guy who's just like who's that quote unquote hero. I think Roman may be close.
Roman. Okay.
Yeah. When do you? This is from Crown Wolf. When do you think the Sasha Bailey turn will happen? I'm really enjoying the slow burn that they're telling.
Yeah. They're. I'm happy with them taking their time right now. I don't know if it's going to be SummerSlam or something later, but it is a very slow process that I welcome. Right now, this is perfect timing. I don't want them to do it now. It's too early. Let this play out another month and see what happens.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Kayfabe Chronicles asks, do they pull the trigger and put the title on Cross fast since it looks like he's going to be the next feud for Adam Cole?
I think if you want to take the title off of Adam Cole and move him and have him disappear, Cross doing it would work really well. It's someone new, and you're going to see all these, you'll see him in Ciampa, you'll see him in Gargano, you'll see a lot of new matches created. I want to see more of Cross as far as like in-ring talent in there. He's very good. I just want to see more of it.
I agree with you. I think they'll put the title on him if Cole decides not to resign.
Well, we got 18 months for that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right.
I think he definitely will have that title.
Oh yeah, it's a given, right? Him, Velveteen, like you have NXT's roster is very deep right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Renius Meister asks, Andrew, did you watch the Stadium Stampede match again? And if you did you change your mind about it?
I watched it again, and no, I did not change my mind. I do not like the match. Did nothing for me.
This is when you got really wasted yesterday. Right?
I got very wasted yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to watch this effing thing. No, I watched it.
I hate it.
There were a lot of elements that I liked, but I just didn't like the match. It wasn't a match to me. I wasn't watching a wrestling match. It's hard to gauge when it's, so all over the place and wild like that. It was a very put together, whatever it is. I don't know. I didn't do it for me. That's, that's all.
Does Generation Z watch WWE?
Gen Z, yeah. They're the ones. Mm-hmm. They're the ones from the Attitude Era that phased out. The Gen Z that aged out, right? They're now guys in their 40s and 50s. It's a much older audience. When you look at these demo numbers, WWE is plagued with plus 50, and you're like, how the hell is that possible? How is it possible that they have such a tremendous like NXT? NXT, their older viewership is astronomical.
Is it really?
You wonder, yeah. They get killed in the not I say killed, but they do. They kind of get killed in the 18 or 34, but they beat AEW every week with that plus 50 every week. And I don't know if it has to do with the fact that USA is an older channel, what the lead up is to NXT, what the follow up is to NXT. I don't know if it has to do with that, but they have a much older channel, much older viewership than AEW does.
Do millennials watch WWE?
I don't know. Well, I'm technically a millennial, born in '84.
Are you?
Technically, If you
I feel like
classify it, I know
millennials have to be 89 and after.
I see it that way too. It's all over the place, depending. NXT average is 58 years old. AEW's is 48. This is according to Corey in the chat. That's quite possible. That's scary. That's scary old.
Shin's got a question. What's up, Shin?
Yes.
First time, long time. Where the F is Shayna Baszler?
So she is off TV. She was a Paul Heyman project. You're going to see a lot of this happen now, by the way. A lot of these Paul Heyman projects are going to slow down. She's not taken off of TV for any specific purpose. The Becky Lynch situation, she was supposed to win that Money in the Bank, by the way. Shayna was supposed to get the Money in the Bank. They changed the direction. I feel right now for that title, for the title that Asuka has, it's going to probably be, it's Nia, then it's probably going to be Charlotte. I'm sure Shayna's going to come back in the mix of things, but she's not really in the plan right now.
Okay.
So I that's what I was told when I asked about it the other day. You know, they're holding off on her and she'll be back. She'll be in that position, that top position, just not right now. If that helps.
Yeah, interesting. I hope we don't see the end of a lot of the Paul Heyman projects just because of like inter-office politics and like dumb shit like that, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. What's the story for Raw tonight? Have they done a Raw preview? I'm curious why they're laying this out.
That's a good question. Yeah. That's a very good question. So you have 3 hours tonight. I think it's going to be a 1 hour Randy Orton promo.
Okay.
You're going to get, I think you're going to get another team up between the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders.
Okay.
You're going to see, I want to say like, well, no, never mind.
By the way,
I was going
this
to say
pre-taped,
like,
right? Tonight's show was pre-taped. It was taped last week.
Okay.
So
I want to say Dijakovic. But he was supposed to be like another Paul Heyman guy, right?
Yes. He liked them very much.
Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm just trying to see if they posted anything on WWE. I don't see anything right now. There's no Raw preview yet, so that'll come probably later today. But everything is filmed, so we'll see what happens. This is another piece of news that I totally forgot to put in my notes. There's an Impact pay-per-view coming up, right?
What?
I think it's this week, Slammiversary.
Is it Slammiversary? Yeah.
There's a little bit of an issue with this show. Let me see. Let me find this 2020. I want to see the card here. And I'll tell you the issue here. So Tessa Blanchard is MIA. She was supposed to be sending videos from home because she's in Mexico right now. She's in Mexico. She was supposed to send a bunch of pre-recorded stuff that she hasn't. And there is a 5-way match scheduled for the title.
Yes.
And
that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so Tessa, for people who don't remember, by the way, there's only one match announced for this right now, as far as I could see. Pay-per-view's taking place this weekend, and it's a 5-way for the Impact World Championship, and it's Tessa Blanchard versus Mike Elgin versus Eddie Edwards versus Ace Austin versus Trey. I don't know if Tessa's going to be there for this. They may strip her of the title and continue on with the show because she has not sent them anything. Very interesting what's going on there.
Well, I think we're wrong about the date of it. I think I'm looking at July 18th for Slammiversary, not June 1st.
Oh, I'm sorry, July 18th. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
My brain, I missed the date.
It happens.
Why?
So she disappeared.
She what?
She disappeared?
She has not sent them anything. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. But interesting. Very interesting. Next month. My apologies. Anything else?
How do you feel about the Tessa title run? Do you think they did a good job with it, or do you think the COVID thing hurt her title run?
I think COVID thing hurt tremendously. Tremendously. I get why they did it. I think she was the right person to do it in the angle. but you got to figure out what you're doing next.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what you're doing next. I don't think Reynos has a question. Do you guys think AEW should sign Tessa? There's a lot of heat on Tessa. She's not very easy to deal with. I think AEW wants to stay away from those issues, especially now.
They just want to hire cool people.
I'm told that it's very, very happy in the back. It's very united. It's more of a family feel. And some people see things only as a job, and they're a little bit more aggressive about getting things their way. And I feel like they want to stay away from that. Anything else here sticking out, or are we good?
I think we're good, man.
We are good. I think we are good. So, guys, that's the show today. Rich and I wanted to do something and give you guys all this information. My God, it's almost an hour and a half we've been doing this. Yeah, hour 15. Wow, look at that. Went by fast.
To show how young you are, can you dab before we?
No, I can't dab. I won't ever dab. I won't ever dab. You know what? I got my finger on the pulse. Dabbing, uncool. Very uncool. Cringy.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Cringy. Guys, dab. It's cringy, please. New Japan Cup, by the way, before we wrap it up, will have a quarter full audience. When will AEW and WWE take the plunge? So earlier in the show, we reported that right now, the date for WWE is looking to be around the end of July. Specifically, I was told July 23rd. I don't know. I gotta find out more information. In the coming weeks, listen, we got a month and a half. A lot could change in a month and a half. It could get a lot worse. It could get a lot better. So I don't know, considering, we've seen a rise in certain states. I'm hoping that this kind of gets contained and gets better little by little. We'll see what happens, but I'm told that we're looking at the 23rd for SmackDown and 27th for Raw. And then after that, I guess they're going to do sporadic. I think if they do, one taping out of the 4 in one show out of the 4 per month in a live audience, I think that's a nice transition into doing this. Slowly opening it up. Obviously, Full Sail is going to be utilized as soon as they can with a live audience. I do find Full Sail to be a better building than, like, when I watch NXT compared to watching Raw. I like Full Sail a lot better. I don't know about you.
Really?
Yeah,
I do with the audience. With the audience, absolutely.
Talking about the performance center wise. Yeah.
AEW. I feel like it's a lot more fun.
AEW's in the same boat. Listen, they're in Florida. They have the space. They're in Jacksonville. They're in northern Florida, which they could, I believe right now, next week, they're going to be able to do more people. So I think slowly they're going to add more people, and then eventually they'll open up that building. AEW definitely has the advantage here with a building.
Yeah.
Unlike WWE, where they don't have a building that size, but AEW could do a couple thousand people in a building. That building, I think, does 5,000. They could do 1,000 people, 800 people,
sure,
and it'll look great.
100 people even would look awesome. Everything would look great. Look at those old ECW shows where we thought there was like 7,000 people there, and it was like 50 people.
Yeah,
50 guys on one side of the camera.
Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. All right, guys. Rich, people can follow you at BTC Rich on Twitter. Are we doing another show this week? Let's see.
Let's see how the wind blows.
Yeah, I mean, we could do another one via VMix call. This is easy to do.
Sure.
Guys, go to our website, gfknetwork.com. Subscribe. We're almost at 4,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Let your friends know. Subscribe on iTunes. Subscribe on anywhere you listen to podcasts. Also, you can follow us on Twitter, Matt Men Podcast. You could join the Facebook group. Just search Matt Men Podcast on Facebook. Do you hear this? It's like a zoo out there.
Yeah, what's that all about?
I don't know. My kids are losing their mind. All right. And that's it for this week, guys. See you later. Take care.